Okay, this is just a video I'm doing just to or it's in relation to some testing I've been doing relating to an IP KVM system using a Raspberry Pi and an Arduino. Basically, it consists of an Arduino running a sort of Pro, I think it's a Pro mic, no, can't remember the exact name, but it's running an ATmega32U4, which has a USB HID support in it. And so basically what I'm doing here is let me just check. Yeah, so what I'm doing here is I've got the system set up, and as you can see in the two displays on the right here, the top one, what is related to something new I'm trying out with using servos to actually turn the machine on and off. And then at the bottom you can see the actual hardware on top of the machine, which is, you can see the Arduino is here, and then the Raspberry Pi, it's a bit dark but it's behind here with the camera on it from the previous setup that I had it working on. Alright, so now I'm just going to turn everything on. Okay, so that's the power for the servos and the display. So the Arduino is not on yet, so just turn that on. Although I should say that's also started up the Raspberry Pi as well. Yes, that's just booting up there, just double checking. Okay. So that's the Arduino just coming on. It's got a little countdown just so you get a chance to reset it. And so there you go. So basically that's the hardware up and running, the IP KVM part. So now what I have to do is connect to the Raspberry Pi so that we can actually get a connection remotely to the, so at the moment the machine I'm running this on is only connected over the network, and that's it. It has no physical connection to that machine that the IP KVM is running on. Okay, so now I just have to, there's one thing I just haven't worked out yet on this, and that is to do with the the VNC server. For some reason, whenever I log in, I always have to restart it in order to be able to connect properly to it. I'll have to just try and work that out some other time. Okay, so now I connect to the VNC server, which is on the Raspberry Pi. And I'm doing this locally, but obviously if this was a machine that was on the network, you then connect remotely to it over whatever internet connection that you're using to it. And it's basically this VNC display is where you're going to be doing most of the actual work to try and get this machine going. Okay, so now here we have this is the display on the Raspberry Pi. So this is what you'd see once you're connected in remotely to it. And to get things going, the first thing you have to run is the so basically just mentioning that when you look at these devices which make up the IP KVM, you have this composite to the VGA to composite converter, and then below that is a composite capture USB device, and then obviously that plugs into the Raspberry Pi. So on the Raspberry Pi, basically, if you go into, I've installed the Video for Linux Test Utility Qt version, and what that does is that allows me to view the what's coming out of the capture card. So I have to change that to composite, and then the other thing, you have to make sure it's not OpenGL, because for some reason that's messed up, I don't know why. And then if you run that, we then have the blank display. So there's nothing on there at the moment because there isn't any signal coming in. And so the next thing I need is just a shell. This is related to trying to capture the keystrokes. So basically what I do is I go into the directory that has the Python software in it that I use to run, or sorry, I used to send the keystrokes. And basically what happens is, if I run this, then basically in this window, what actually happens is, whenever I type any keys, they actually get sent to the Raspberry Pi, through the Raspberry Pi to the Arduino. And as you can see, when you look on the right hand side, you can see that so if you look at this part here, then as I press the keys, you can see the values change. And so basically the values here are getting sent to the Arduino, and of course that display is just there as debugging so that you can see what's coming through. Okay, I was just putting in the USB now. So okay, so now there's the first thing you have to do is to basically set everything up. And the way that we do that is basically on the Arduino, the way that I've programmed it is that it sends keystrokes, but there's certain special keystrokes where when they're sent, they actually put the Arduino into a different mode. So basically there's a special mode that it has, where if I do, I think it's Control Alt 4, and then as you can see on the display, it's hard to see, but basically what it's saying is that I've now enabled the servo calibration mode. And what happens in the servo calibration mode is the arrow keys can be used to move the servos into specific positions. And so as I move the keys, you can see so as I push the up arrow, and it's actually moving the servo down, and if I remember correctly, if I push shift, so you can see it's so basically this is what I'm doing is I'm adjusting the servo in order to get it into the right position for actually pressing the buttons. Right, yeah, so if I hold, it's actually right shift, it makes it move in 10-degree steps. And so that button's pressed in now. So if I press the space bar, then it saves that, and so that positions me saving EEPROM as being the position for it to turn up, well, when the button's pressed. So now I can do the same thing for the using the left and right keys for the other servo. Okay, so if you press spacebar to save that, and as you can see, so now those positions are saved. What I have to do now is to exit the. Admittedly, I know the test, it's not very good, but I've got more testing to do on this to get this to work properly. But this is really, I'm just showing this because it's just the fact that it works. But obviously there's still more to be done in terms of how I set this up. So now if I do Control-Alt-5, it will exit the exit servo adjust mode. And so now the easiest way around this is for me to just reset it. So I'm just turning the power off to the Arduino. Okay, so that's off. Okay, so now that's reset, and as you can see, when I turn it on, it's now powered up the machine, and you can see the display coming up on the capture. Well, actually it looks like it turned itself off. Oh no, it's back on again. Not sure what's going on. And as you can see, the display is very bad, but here's the thing: if you've got a remote machine and you want it to if you got a remote machine and all you care about is just the fact that the machine's working, then the fact that the display is bad, that ain't anything special. All you really care about is that you can access the machine, you can power it off and you can power it on, and you can access the BIOS. And that's all you'd really care about. The fact that the display is bad, that's just a minor thing. So basically now it's just booting up an old puppy install that I have on a USB stick, and just waiting for it to come up. Okay, so now at the moment I don't have a USB attached to it. Let me see. As you can see, I wasn't very well prepared for this, but I have to admit I wasn't really sure exactly how I was going to do all this. Okay, so I'm just going to plug this USB in. Okay, so that's the, so I haven't sorted out mouse control just yet, so for the time being I still have to do it manually, but what I just want to show is that alright, so basically that's the terminal sort of on the remote desktop, and if I type, oops, yeah, I've got to put the mouse in the right place. So basically if I yeah, see, so the keystrokes are actually getting through, which is the main thing that I care about. So let's say if you ls, and then we can see a listing of the stuff that's in there, and so there you have it. So basically we're connected by the keyboard to this remote machine, and it's the Raspberry Pi that's actually sending the keystrokes to the remote machine. So now, of course, that's not too, that's the easy stuff, you know, you just use VNC and connect to it. But one thing, that problem I've had with this particular, and why I've used this particular USB, is because whenever I try to reboot, it actually gets stuck. So if I try to reboot, so you can imagine you've got it there, you want to do a quick reboot on it, and so now the machine's stuck. So what do? Of course, we've got the feature where you can send a control or delete by pressing Control Alt 2. So you can see on the display it says send Control Alt Delete, but the machine's basically ignoring it. So at this point, with the old system, I'd be in trouble. But now this is where we can put the new system into play. So basically, in order to send a I think it's Control 7. I think that's a reboot. So if I press Control Shift 7, That's it. So it's Control Shift 8 maybe. Oh, sorry, yeah, wrong. Control Shift was something else. Control is Control Alt. I think it's 6. Control 7. There you go. And as you can see, the servo just pushed the reset button, and there we have our machine reset. So that's certainly convenient, having a sort of remote system there to do that sort of thing for you. And of course you can have so that's with the reset. So now of course the other thing, you might have it so that, alright, so it's booting up there, and you might decide that, okay, I don't really want to it to finish booting for whatever reason, and you just want to turn it off. So in order to turn it off, it's if I remember correctly, it should be Control Alt 9, I think. Okay, no, not that. So that's the power on. Yeah, so as you can see, the display is powering on. So it's actually Control. If I press Control 8, see, it holds it in until the machine turns off. And then there you go. So the servo's finished and the machine's off. And then of course, if you want to turn it back on now, you just press Control Alt 9, if I remember. See, I can't even remember because I did this a while ago. I think it's about a week ago, and I just didn't remember the key combinations. So if I do Control Alt 9, and you can see the relay turns it. Sorry, the servo turns it back on. So we just wait for it to boot up. If I do Control 2, just want to quickly reboot it. Okay, it seems Control Delete is not working for some reason, not sure why. Okay, well it doesn't matter because we can just give it a quick reboot, restart. So just want to make sure I can still get into the BIOS. Okay. So we can still go in the BIOS and check things out, see what's going on. So the only thing that seems to have gone is the, not sure why that Control Delete's not working, but now that we have the servos attached, the Control Delete hardly really matters because we can have a way of pressing the actual buttons on the machine itself, which is the main thing. I think I might know what's wrong. It's probably just something wrong with the code. Because I had to change the keyboard, the way that the key codes are interpreted, so it's probably some mistake I've made there. Just have to have a double check. But the main thing is the fact that the servers are working, and we can still get into the BIOS and change it, which is the all important part. Okay, so just wait for it to boot up again. Now, of course, you might be able to find some video capture USB which is better than this, but admittedly, all I care about is just the fact it works. I know some people like to go on about their quality, it's got to be this and that, but I'm not really concerned. Okay, so it's just booting up again. Right, so there we have it. So yes, the only thing it doesn't have is the mouse, but I've actually got code in there for that, so that I'm still testing that. So there's still a few things I have to fix on it, but the important thing is that it's working and the keyboard works for the BIOS, and that's the main thing. So of course when I do power off there, it's not going to work because of the problem with this. So then all I want to do is just send the Control 8, and then that will hold the button in, and there you go. So that's the end of that. So basically this is just showing you my new system that I've come up with, and it's funny, the only reason I've done all of this is simply because that Source IP KVM that the guy was going to do, I was waiting for that, and I would have happily paid the money if he'd have finished it, but then finding out he was stalling just got on my nerves a bit. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to just do it myself because I ain't got time to wait for someone else. And admittedly, I'm actually doing this because there is a machine that I do need to sort out, and I actually need this hardware in order to be able to deal with it. And so this is just basically a byproduct of that need, and hopefully, well, what I'll do is I'll get all the details up on the page, and if anyone else wants to give it a try, they can. Because it's all just standard stuff. It's really just a case of putting it all together. But this, yeah, so that's just a quick demonstration of what I've got so far. Still has a little bit of what to do on it, but at the moment it's working well enough to get done what I need to get done, basically. Okay, see you.